Alright guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going to be flashing my BMW X7 with xHP. And for those that don't know, xHP is a transmission tuning software. It's very similar to MHD or boot mode or anything else you would use to tune your engine, but it just also updates the tune for your transmission to be better paired with your engine tune. So I'm really excited to try this out. I had it on my 340i as well, and I expect to get the same benefits on my X7. So I'm going to show you guys how it's done, and we'll do a little bit of a data log review afterwards so I can share with you guys my thoughts on how it changed the car. So let's go ahead and do this, and hopefully you guys find this video useful.
Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future.
So of course, the first thing we need to do is flash the car, and it's going to be a very similar process to how you flashed your DME tune, whether that's MHD or boot mode. Keep in mind, you can do this on a completely stock car as well. This works without a tune. You don't need a femto unlock or anything like that. It simply just flashes through the OBD port, and it does give a lot of benefits on its own, even without a DME tune as well. But for those of us that have already flashed a tune, you'll be very familiar with this process. So we're going to use our Wi-Fi adapter. I use the MHD universal adapter. That adapter is great because it works with everything. It works with your DME tune, your transmission tune, with BimmerLink, BimmerCode, basically any software that you would want to use to connect wirelessly to your car. It'll work. And especially on these newer G series cars, you typically need a different adapter for a DME tune versus a transmission tune. So in this case, I can just use the same adapter for everything. So I've got that plugged into the car, and then we're going to go ahead and open the xHP app. Now, as you can see here, I've actually already connected to the car, so it's already showing here underneath my licenses. But what you want to do is connect to new car, then select your transmission, and it will find your adapter. Now, while it's doing this, sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth where you need to connect to the internet, let things update in the software side, then reconnect to your adapter so it can actually connect to your car and get your car's information. So it's a little bit redundant, but just keep that in mind. You'll probably have to switch back and forth at least once. So here, for example, you can see when I redeem my license, I've got to put in my license code, and when it's redeeming the voucher, it says it needs internet connection. So you might have to do that again just to make sure that it knows the license is valid, and then you switch back to your adapter to actually connect to the car and flash everything. So let all of this work. It'll download, take a couple minutes, and then we'll get back to flashing the car. Now, something I do think is cool is you can see a lot of details about your car here. Like if you click on the technical specs, you can see all the details about your car, your engine, how much power it makes, your mileage. You can also go to the equipment and see all of the options that your car has. So this is a really easy way to see the exact setup on your car if you're ever curious about that. So a lot of cool things to see here. But now we're going to go ahead and flash the car. So click on flash this car down at the bottom. And then it's going to give you a couple different options for stages. Stage 0 is basically the stock tune, and then stage 1, 2, and 3 are all different options that you can click on to see what will actually change depending on the tune that you're looking for. I made a full video breaking down all the different stages, so if you want more details on that, I'll have a link to that video in the description so you can see everything that has to do with what the different stages do. But keep in mind, all of them perform virtually the same. A lot of it is more about feel and how you use the car and how aggressive you want it to be behind the wheel. So I like to use stage 2. Stage 3 is a little bit too aggressive for me. I don't like feeling the shifts being jerky and stuff in the car, especially if I'm driving aggressively. I like quick, snappy shifts. So I stick with stage 2 because to me that's the smoothest while still giving me the same performance, and the car isn't making crazy power or anything. Now, there are also a lot of different options that you can select, and again, I've got a full video detailing all these different options and what you can change. I typically don't change anything without driving the car, and then if there's there's something I don't like, I'll go back into the tune and adjust it. But out of the box, the stage 2 off the shelf map is pretty good. The only thing that I really like is having the indicator for your gear in the cluster, even in drive mode. So it'll always show you what gear you're in. You don't have to be in manual mode to see the actual gear. So here you can see that it's set by default, so you don't actually have to change anything to turn that on. So we'll select stage 2 and then go to flash now. Select the latest version. These don't get revised very often, but when they do, I do recommend at least trying it out. We've got everything set up on the car. Make sure, you've got all of these settings as it's recommending so that you don't have any issues with the flash. And then you're going to go ahead and flash. Now, the first time it does take a little while because it's actually unlocking your TCU. Forgot to reconnect to my adapter. Now keep in mind the first flash does take a little while. It takes several minutes because it's actually unlocking the transmission control unit the same way that you need to unlock the DME. So it takes a little while, but after you do this, flashing after that should not take more than 60 seconds or so. So we're going to go ahead and flash the car and then come back when this is done. So now it's finalizing the flash. You're going to hear a lot of the same gongs and errors, just like when you're flashing a transmission tune, but it will clear all your codes. Make sure none of that hangs around. So it's finishing up. And then after that, it's done. It says success. Your flash finished successfully. So that's your sign that the car is good to go. Now, keep in mind, after you flash your car, it is recommended to reflash your tune. In MHD, there used to be a checkbox where it would say that either you have a manual transmission car or an xHP flash, so it knew that your transmission limiters were removed. But now it should be able to detect it automatically, but you do still need to reflash the car. So there's no checkbox to select that you have xHP, but you need to reflash it so that it can detect and know that xHP is on your car. I believe I got that right. Either way, I'm just going to reflash just to make sure, and then we're going to do our 50 miles of driving so that the car can recalibrate and everything. So once you've flashed xHP, you're supposed to drive the car about 50 miles doing mixed street and highway use to let all the systems kind of recalibrate and everything. You're not actually resetting any adaptations on your transmission, but the car is just basically adapting to the use of the new transmission tune. So we've completed that now. I want to go ahead and get some logs, do some draggies to see how the car performs. Keep in mind, compared to my old draggies, it's much cooler now. The car should be performing better regardless. I think we've got a better DA and stuff like that, but I still want to just get some data to understand how the car is performing currently. So let's go ahead and head over to Kern Raceway. We'll put the transmission into S, put the car into sport mode, and it's very excited, as you can hear, but we're gonna go get some numbers and see how the car is doing. So let's get this done. Nope, the Kern Speedway enforcement is out today, so we're gonna take a little bit of a break. We'll come back and try again a little bit later. All right, guys, so we are back, and a couple days later, we were finally able to get some Dragy numbers on the X7. Now, the good news is the car does appear to be faster based on the data, but the bad news is it still doesn't 60 to 130. It seems like xHP just wasn't enough to get us over that hump, so we're gonna stick with my 50 to 120 custom setting that I run on my Dragy. Now, I do want to clarify a couple things just because I saw some comments on my previous videos where I did Dragy runs on the X7, and basically just want to remind you guys that Dragy measures acceleration, not top speed. So kind of like a quarter mile, it measures how fast you go and how long it takes you to go that set distance. But if you stayed in the power, you would of course go faster. And the same thing works for the X7. On Kern Raceway, it's about a third of a mile. If I kept accelerating, yes, the car would eventually get to 130 miles an hour. But because of the distance I have with a known slope and everything being controlled there, I just don't have enough space to go from 60 or below 60 to over 130 miles an hour so I can get that entire sweep across that speed range. So, again, yes, the car can get up to 130 miles an hour, but with the distance and everything that I've set up on Kern Raceway, we're not able to get there. Also, keep in mind that Dragy is based on GPS speed, not indicated speed. Your indicated speed on your dash is about 5% faster than what you're actually going. So if your dash says you're going 100 miles an hour, you're only actually going around 95 due to the bias that BMW puts in there. So basically, I would need to go up to 136 or 137 in order to get to an actual 130 miles an hour GPS speed, which again would be a pretty significant feat on the length of road I have. So no shade. I mean, it's a big car. It's making good power. It performs well for what it is, but it's just not enough to get up there on, the track that we use. So let's go ahead and look at the data. Again, this is a 50 to 120 run, and I was able to get a 13.02 followed by a 13.01. And this was actually pretty funny because last time I did my Dragy without xHP, I got exactly 13.02. But if you guys remember, I was struggling with it at the time because of IATs. I ended up having to drive the car with the flaps open to get more cooling and kind of optimize the performance, because before I did it with the flaps closed, it was like 13.9 or something like that. And these runs were actually done with the flaps closed. I checked my logs and my IATs were between like 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So they were still relatively high, but I was still able to accomplish the same time. So I would say objectively, xHP does make the car faster. Subjectively, it absolutely feels faster. The manual shifts are faster. The sport mode shifts are faster. Basically, everywhere it feels faster and more natural. I do really enjoy the off-the-shelf maps. Of course, a custom tune would take it even a step further, but I think most people are really satisfied with the off-the-shelf maps that xHP offers. So that's great news. The car was definitely faster. I also, like I said, did run some logs. The data looked great. I think probably one of the more interesting things is if you guys have a G series with MHD, you now have the ability to log your transmission. So there are multiple parameters in here that you can check. I checked several of them, but I'll be completely honest, I don't know what they mean. I don't have a frame of reference for them to really baseline what they should be, or, based on my results, how the car is doing. But I am going to use them as something that I can monitor in the future. So as I push more power or change anything on my setup, I'll be able to compare and see if anything significant changes. But you can see there are some things associated with the clutches as well as the torque converter. So if you want, you can work with your tuner to monitor those things to see if there's any way to further optimize your shifts. But at least from my standpoint in the car, it performs great. It holds boost just like you would expect between shifts and just continues pulling. It does feel a little more aggressive behind the driver's seat, but nothing too harsh or crazy. Again, I don't want my car to feel like a 2,000 horsepower Lambo when it's just, a family SUV. So it just gives me kind of that sharp, snappy shift that I'm looking for. And it's really nice to know that the ZF8 transmission can simply handle it with a flash. So yeah, again, super happy with the tune. I will have links in the video description to everything that I used, including how to download the software, how to flash the software, and all of that good stuff. In case you guys are interested in doing this to your car as well, let me know if there's anything else that you want to see. And of course, we'll keep doing more and more videos in the future of daily driving the car, tuning the car, and just kind of enjoying it for its intended purpose. So for now, I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.